Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Aging Advantage. I am Donna Mitchell, and we today, of course, have another ARPA talk. Through local grants and donations, we offer programs to help with the effects of COVID and other post pandemic situations, like the housing and food insecurity or isolation. Through this partnership, we provide educational topics that can help promote self care and resilience. And today we have our speaker, Kristin, and she is going to talk to us today about making good goals that matter. The self determination team from Easterseals Midwest. Once she's finished, we can answer any questions, comments that you may have. And other than that, Kristin, it's your floor.
Thank you so much,
Welcome.
Donna. So like Donna said, my name is Kristin. I work for Easterseals Midwest. For those of you that don't know what Easterseals Midwest is, we are actually the largest provider of disability services in the state of Missouri, and our corporate office is here in St. Louis County. Our goal is to serve people across their lifespan. So we work with people all the way from a child all the way up through the aging process, and we have a variety of services that we offer to support individuals, lots of resources, things like that. So the team that I'm part of at Easterseals Midwest is actually called the Self-Determination Team. So I have some pictures of my teams. This is my St. Louis team. So we have Jason, who is our coordinator, Kristin, who is our manager, and then I am the associate director of that department. And then we have three instructors who actually teach our self-determination courses. So if you live here in St. Louis, you get the benefit of getting a in-person course if you're interested. But right now, one of the things my team is working on is developing the self-determination courses to help people develop good self-advocacy skills. We are developing an online curriculum. So for folks that travel is difficult, but still want to gain access to this information, in January of 2026, we will be able to offer these classes online. And then in Kansas City, I have a small team that, Easterseals also serves that part of the state. So I have a small team there doing the self-determination work as well. The cool thing about my program at Easterseals is all of our instructors. So Kristin, Katie, Amy, and Tori all identify as an individual with a disability. So they come with the real lived experience of what it's like to be an individual with a disability, and it really helps them give that perspective during class and also support the individuals who are taking part in the class as well. They're often very creative when they're thinking about how they can adapt classes so that everyone can participate. Okay, so right now we have three classes that we're offering. So again, we have them in person in the St. Louis area, but we are pivoting to offer these classes online as well. So the first class we have is called My Life, Right, My Rights. Really, the goal of that class is to teach people what rights I have within my life, empower them to exercise those rights, how we can get other people to help us make decisions, and what responsibilities also apply to our everyday life. So a really good example from that class is like people do have the right to choose the foods they want to eat, but they may also have the responsibility to understand what diet they're on or what healthy foods look like, things like that. So we really teach people some of those skills in that first class. The second class, we really empower people by giving them some information about the history of the disability rights movement and why that is important. We talk about different communication styles. We work on making choices, problem solving, and how to be an advocate or a self-advocate, how to appropriately speak up for myself, how to get the things I need to make my life be the best life that I want for myself. The third class is new, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I just recently got the okay in the development of this third course. This is really for individuals who want to be part of a larger community and do things like learn more about voting rights, learn more about how they can change things in their community, how to be a good ally to other people with disabilities. If I want to go and speak out about something I'm passionate about at a community meeting, we teach people skills to feel more confident with some of those type of activities. Okay. So kind of to get to the main part of my program, I'm going to talk a little bit about what is advocacy. So advocacy is really supporting or speaking up for someone else, a group, or a cause. So this can really help people get better involved in their community, find people who have the same feelings and work together. So it really creates supports for people, within their community. And then self advocacy is another skill that's really important. So, in order for people to live their best lives, you really need to be able to speak out for what you want and need. So, telling other people what's important to you, speaking out if you want something in your life to change, being at the forefront of making decisions for yourself. So, we teach a lot of those skills, but these are just also really important things for individuals to work on in order to improve and make those connections and to get the things in life that they want. Okay. So self-determination, you might ask, like, what Kristen's been talking about, the self-determination department and all of these classes, but like, what does that really mean? What we found for people, any person, people want to be in control of their lives. They want to be able to make decisions for themselves. They want to be able to tell people what is important to them. And so even if I have a disability, it's important that I'm given the opportunity to make some of my own choices. So, self determination is really having that control over your own life, being able to be part of making decisions and choices. So, really being able to have that voice of what's important and what decisions you want in your life. Okay. So I'll talk a little bit about why is it important for you to be self-determined and a good self-advocate. So it's really important in order for people to live their best lives, that you are able to make choices based on the things that are important to you. Um, and it's really difficult to get the things in life that are important to you if you don't advocate for yourself. So saying, this is important to me, I need this in my life. I really, right now, I don't have a lot of social connection in my life, but that's something that's really important to me. That's something I want to work on. I need help from other people to support me to work on that. So it's really important in order to set goals for yourself, but really just to get the things out of life that are most important to you. You have to be at the forefront of decision making and telling people what you want. If you're a parent of someone with a disability, these are skills that I really try to work on. I have a son myself who's on the autism spectrum. And we just had a conversation last night about he's struggling in math class in high school, but he's not saying that he needs help. And so it's hard for the people around him to give help and support if he doesn't tell people what he needs and do that self advocacy piece. So, as a parent, it's really important to encourage self advocacy. If you're a caregiver of someone, listening to their voice and what's important to them will really help them feel like they are more self determined in their own lives. Okay. So Judy Human, if you're not familiar with her, she is one of my absolute favorite human beings. She has a lot of great TED Talks, but she is really one of the originators of the disability rights movement. So she really thinks about it as like, my barriers are not the fact that I have a disability. It's people think I can't do things that I can do, right? So sometimes when we set goals, we have to really think about I might have barriers because I have a disability or I use a wheelchair, but what resources are available to help me overcome those barriers? So sometimes when someone has a disability, people think they're not capable of meeting certain goals. And a lot of times that's not true. They just may need different supports or different resources. So that might be part of setting a goal too. What resources do I need to meet this goal? Who do I need help from? Who in the community could support me with that? Okay. So goal making is the thing that connects people with living their best life. And I know the mission of the agency I'm presenting to today is really to help people kind of make those connections post COVID and kind of getting back into the swing of recognizing their best life. Um, so really, when we set goals, we have to think about what the choices are and then what the person is saying or what's important to the person when we're setting these goals. Okay. So think about this too. So when we set goals, sometimes there's a fear that we might fail, right? I know every year I have set a goal that I am going to exercise more. We're about to hit the new year and I set a goal. Sometimes I meet the goal and sometimes I don't, right? Um, I remember one time I signed up for a gym and I was like, this is the year I'm really going to start my exercise journey. And the problem was a barrier for me is I don't have time to go to the gym 3 times a week. So one of the things I learned is I probably shouldn't sign up for a gym membership. I should find other ways to exercise. So a lot of times we learn from things when we did not complete our goal or the goal did not go as successfully as we wanted it to. Sometimes we can learn from those failures or find a different way to meet our needs. Okay. And we've all had that in life. We've tried things and it didn't work well, and we learned something from that opportunity as well. So sometimes being afraid of failure, there is some growth in not meeting that goal as well. Okay. So why does this matter? So everyone learns by trying new things. So sometimes there can be a fear of starting a goal, but when we try something new, it does create learning opportunities. And just because I have a disability, I have the same right to make choices or advocate for the things that I want, even if there's a potential that a mistake might happen. If we have concerns about safety or things like that, again, we can look at resources and supports to help that person meet the goal, to reduce some of that risk involved with making a new goal. All right, so let's put the pieces together between self-determination and self-advocacy. So again, self-determination is really being able to make that choice of what goal I want to work on or what things are important to me. And then that self-advocacy piece is speaking up about the things that are important to me so everybody can support me with my goal. Okay. So what is the goal? So sometimes you have to identify what is the activity or goal I want to meet, right? The second step would be clearly describe what you want to do. If someone's telling you what their goal is, try to use their words whenever possible. I had a young man that I worked with, and he told me, I want to make more friends. I want to have more friends, more people in my life. So I wrote down exactly what it was that he was wanting out of the goal. So here's an example. Sam wants to learn to cook dinner independently. So focus on the goal and not the risk itself. So we might be worried that there might be some dangers in someone learning to cook independently, but we would focus more on the goal rather than our safety concerns or things of that nature. Okay. So there's a tool that I like to use when I set goals. And I've drawn this on a piece of paper. So don't feel like you have to have this exact model in order to make this work for you. Um, but basically, what it's called is called a trajectory. So you create 2 boxes. You talk about a vision for what I want. And so, depending on what you want, this could look very different from person to person. But I'm going to go back to my example with Sam. So the vision for what Sam wants is to cook dinner independently. So yeah, I would write that goal in the box. This vision could look like I want to make more friends. I want to graduate high school. Whatever the goal may be. I want to lose weight. That was one that I had on there for a while. Or I want to exercise more. So kind of noting that in the vision of what's important to you in your life. And then you can also say, what I don't want. I don't want, he doesn't want to burn or cut himself when he's cooking. He doesn't want to have issues where he doesn't understand how to use the appliances. He doesn't want his food to get burned. He doesn't want to forget and leave the stove on. So we can kind of talk about like, within this goal, what are the things I don't want to happen? I want to make more friends. What I don't want is to join a sports club because that's not how I want to make friends, right? What I don't want is to be rejected by the group. All of those type of things. So you can kind of note what's important to me and this is my vision for my good life, but also like some things within the goal that I don't want. Mine was like I want to exercise more. What I don't want is probably to do only running, right? That's not something that's important to me. I'd probably want a variety of different types of exercise. Okay. So after you set a goal, it's important that you identify what supports and strategies you'll need to achieve your goal. So, what skills need to be developed to support in achieving the goal? So, I'll go back to my example of wanting more connection. So, one of the things that might be a support or strategy is I need transportation to get to events. So, I would note that as a support that I would have to look into. Or I need help researching different social opportunities based on my interest. Maybe I really like, Dungeons and Dragons. And so someone needs to help me research where those opportunities are available. So just examples of, when you have a goal, you may need to then identify what is going to help me achieve this goal. What do I need? And what type of help do I need in order to obtain this goal? Um, and then what accommodations could help with barriers? So, if there's something we're concerned about, like are there services or supports that may help us overcome the barriers that are keeping us from our goal? One of the things I've learned with my own exercise goal is that um, I kind of need an accommodation of someone going with me. I'm not very good about going by myself to exercise. I also want the social aspect of it. So, an accommodation I might need is like an exercise buddy or a group or something like that. Okay. So, you may need to start small with your goals. So, if my goal is to exercise more, but right now I'm not exercising at all, I may need to start with exercising one time a week. Sometimes when we set big goals, it's difficult to meet them. And so sometimes I tell people take smaller bites of the goal, right? Um, if I wanted to do social opportunities, but maybe I'm really anxious about starting a goal like that. I have a lot of anxiety about being in public or being part of a group. I might have to start small by joining some kind of virtual class to kind of get more comfortable or try an activity that's free, maybe. So it's less risky for me if I'm uncomfortable and need to leave. So think about that. When you set goals, think about the smaller steps that you could take to meet the goal. Um, my son and I are working on laundry. We're working on doing our laundry independently. So one of the things is instead of teaching him the whole process, we're starting small with like just gathering all of our laundry every week and making sure it gets to the laundry room. And then we can add to that goal once he gets better at that specific small skill. Um, what is the actual goal or activity you want to achieve? Um, if you're having trouble motivating someone, like maybe you're a caregiver for someone and it seems like they're not interested in working on the goal, you may have to revisit and think about, is this truly a goal that's important to this person? Sometimes as caregivers, we set goals for people that are important to us that may not be important to the individual, and then it's harder to motivate them to work on the goal. And then, do you know all the accommodations or supports that are out there to help you with your goal? So think about that. do I need to find out more what can help me meet this goal, or what's out there? So let's go back to Sam's example. Um, but Sam wants to learn to cook and eat dinner independently, thinking about what skills he might need. So think about, within this goal, what are all the small steps that he might need? Maybe first he needs to learn how to read the box of a recipe and figure out what ingredients go in and how long it's cooked for and things like that. So as you're looking at the goal, think about all the skills that are necessary to meet that goal, and how you can take small steps to make those small achievements along the way to a goal. Um, and then what accommodations might we be able to do to prevent injury? So if he's worried about food burning, maybe we need to teach Sam how to use timers in order to, make sure that he's able to know when to take things out of the oven or the microwave, or things like that. Um, Maybe, if we're worried about leaving the stove on, maybe there, again, a use of a timer, or some kind of other appliance. Maybe we don't start with the stove. I have a lot of individuals who cook very independently using an appliance like an air fryer. So sometimes we have to think outside of the box about how to make this person most successful. I do this with my own son too. We're not quite at cooking a full meal independently, um, but we've gotten really good at using the microwave and following the directions on things that can be heated up. So it does allow him to be more independent. It's just, we're just not quite to the goal of using the stove yet. So think about that too. Like, there might be other ways to meet the goal that aren't the most high risk activity, if that makes sense. Okay. So if you ever want to connect with Easterseals Midwest, or learn more about our self-determination programs, and how family members could benefit from that, we do have an email address that you're welcome to reach out to. Um, and I just want to wish people good luck with their goal setting. So the big takeaways for me are: think about what resources you need to meet your goal. Think about the small steps you can take to meet your goal, and think about setting goals that are important to you. You're more likely to work on them. And don't get discouraged if the goal doesn't work out. Think about it as a learning opportunity of how I can maybe do a different goal in the future, or the things that I learned from not meeting that goal. All right, that's all I got. Any questions for me?
Well, hello there. Welcome back. Well, thank you so much, Kirsten.
You're welcome.
Kristen,
You
that was so great. And I really like the fact of how your presentation was, I guess, like a different flavor to what we've been receiving, and with just such a wealth of information. That was really cool. I like that. I'm looking at as you were, talking in the different slides, and I'm just like, this is different. I like this. It's cool.
And my big
I
thing is,
like
like,
it.
I am in the game of helping people meet goals. But I think a
Yes,
lot of times we get so stuck in our way of thinking, like, the only way to meet this goal is this way. But
right.
there's so many other ways that people can be independent, that they can get the things they want, but sometimes we just got to think outside the box a little bit.
That's cool.
And
I like
then
that.
sometimes we got to start small, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have this giant goal that we want for ourselves, but we got to start smaller, right? Like, life is busy. So, like, I'm happy to exercise twice a week now. Like, I'm
I know,
sort of
right?
meeting the goal, right? Like, I'm getting there. And then I don't feel so discouraged because I'm not meeting the goal of exercising 5 days a week, right? Like, I am making progress, right?
Yes, most definitely. And I was really, of course, it struck something. I was really laughing when you said the weight loss. You was like, I've been having that as my goal for quite some time, and I'm just thinking like, is she read my thoughts or what? So
But, like,
I'm
maybe
not
I start
alone.
small with, like, just eating more salads at lunch every week, and I feel
Yeah.
good about that I'm doing that,
Yes.
and I'm feeling healthier and I'm feeling better, and then I can
Yes.
embrace my small wins. right?
Yes, that is so great. I was really cracking up because I'm like, oh my God, that is so me. And but you gave me some ideas though, like you say, just start small because I think that is probably my biggest thing why I'm not so successful in that area because like you say you have this big goal and of course everybody after the holidays the first of the year I'm so motivated. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the gym every day and don't do that.
Yeah.
But if I think last year or this year, the first time I went ahead and just tried to be honest with myself and just was like, okay, you've been doing this for how long now, girl? So, um, maybe if you take baby steps, because I noticed from January all the way through like April, I'm strong. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm doing really good. And I don't know what happens after that. If I start getting bored, or usually it's like an event or something happens. Either I go on a vacation or something,
Hmm.
and when I'm on vacation, everything is out of the window, out of sight, out of mind. I'm going to enjoy myself. So if it's an all inclusive where I get to eat every day, all day long, guess what? I'm like a baby at that point. I need to eat every 2 hours. I don't care if I'm snacking or what it is, but everybody I'm with, they be like, are you serious? You're going to eat again? Yes. I tell them, look, I'm like a baby when I'm on these. I'm out of town. I'll deal with the weight stuff when I get back. And then I get
Yeah.
so upset because I've always gained anywhere from 8 to 10 pounds within a week. But I mean,
Wow.
and I still try to do some kind of walking or exercise and try to do something. But I guess because I eat so much, it really doesn't help a whole lot. I
Well,
don't
and
know. Maybe
sometimes,
I would.
Donna, you got to look at your overall process. Like we're all, life goes like this. So like I could be doing really
Yes.
good and then something happens and then it's difficult again. Um, so I also say don't get discouraged. You can always get back, or like maybe I need to reevaluate my goal and pick something that's more um feasible for
Yeah.
myself.
More
So
attainable.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that,
You're
and I
right.
also think you got to think about where you're starting. So if my goal is to get out more, I've been kind of isolated, right? And my goal is to get out more. Like if I'm not going anywhere right now, expecting
Hmm.
me to go somewhere 3 times a week is a really hard goal. So like
Yeah.
even if it's now that I go out and socialize once a month, still view that as improvement and something
Okay.
that can be built on. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, a lot of sense. That's great. That's really good. So then that's what I need to do then, just reevaluate because the new year is coming again. And here I
Yep.
go with the same goal. I'm going to lose weight. And so I guess then maybe I have to think about maybe I should do, um, because just recently I was exercising every morning before work. I would get up really early, with the kids at the school bus stops and stuff like that. So between 5:30 and 6 I was getting up out walking for 45 minutes, and I would do that for at least 5 days, and then soon the weather changed. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So my
Yeah.
husband ended up coming up with a great idea. He was like, what about one of those walking treadmills, and that way, like, even when you're working or something, you can just be walking on it. And I'm like, you know what, I don't know if I'll be able to walk on it while I'm at work, besides, doing these presentations while somebody else is talking, then I could
Yeah.
be walking, which is a great idea because usually if you guys are on for about 30 minutes, if I can do a 30-minute walk a day, that would be great. So I am trying to think of different ways,
Well,
like you
and that
say.
you're probably more likely to meet that goal because that fits better within your schedule, right? So like one of the
Okay.
accommodations Donna might need is the availability to like use her foot pedaler while she's working because that's a good time for her to keep her
Yes, exactly,
exercise going.
exactly. That's really good. So I'm so happy and grateful for you today because you're like right in the nick of time of things, because this way I'm able to reevaluate and make goals more attainable for myself,
And for the
because I'm
people that, like if you have children or the people around you or you're a caregiver or something like that, helping people to find goals that they will be successful at, right? Like that kind of thing.
yes.
All right,
Yes,
y'all. Thank
yes.
you for having me so much. I really appreciate it. If you'd ever like to have me back in the future, just let me know.
Of course, of
All
course, of
right.
course. So you have different types of talks that you do, or would
So yeah,
you
we have
kind of
several
piggyback?
different like I just thought this was a good one because we're kind of coming into that
Mm-hmm.
season where people are trying to set
Yeah.
goals or think about how
Yeah.
they want their
Perfect.
2026 to be different. but we
Perfect
have a
timing.
lot of different talking areas that we
Oh,
could.
really?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
most definitely then. I will be reaching out to you because we need people to talk all the time. We have several openings per month, so as many as you have, we'd love to have you to come on.
It might be something a
Just
little bit different than what people are used to hearing, and I think that's
yeah,
good too. It makes it more
exactly.
well-rounded for people.
Yes, yes,
Because
yes,
we talk all
yes.
the time at my job about, yeah, we call it social determinants of health, and being able to advocate for yourself, whether
Okay.
that be with your doctor, with your family, is one of those determinants. Like, you really have to be able to tell people what you want and what's
Yeah.
important to you. That will make you have a healthier, happier life.
Yes, yes, yes. That is so great. I am so
All right,
grateful
thank you
for
so
you.
much.
And it was
Bye bye.
perfect timing again, like I say, to bring this one on. It's like perfect. So, yes, I'll be in touch with you then for the future. And
Okay,
by all means, you have a very happy holiday.
same to
And
you
let
all.
me just check real quick, make sure we didn't have anything in the chat. We don't. So, I'm glad you did, reiterate how to get in contact with you if anybody needed to. And of course, you always have us, Aging Advantage. If you cannot contact Kristin, then always get in contact with myself or someone at Aging Advantage, and we will most definitely put you in contact with her and her company. And again, Kristin, we thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you so much,
Seals
Donna.
of Midwest, and you guys have a great day. Bye
You too.
now.
Bye.